Hello, and yes, welcome back to another video, guys. Now, this is a bit different. Today, I wanted to sit down and talk about something which I feel doesn't get talked about enough when it comes to movies. It's a lot of famous directors, had a lot of incredible directors who have talked about the importance of directing in movies. The lighting, the cinematography, the score, the sound mixing, the editing, the script, the story, the pacing. There are so many key factors to making a movie, and I am not an expert on it. But something which I've always gravitated to in movies, something that always helps me hold my attention with films, is great characters. And I thought it would be fun to come on and talk about what I like to look for in a character, things that I think are great about certain characters out there in movies. And also, I am going to get some help here from some friends in our little YouTube, BlueTube community, and here's some of their favourite characters. One thing I really wanted to talk about was, for me, a lot of great characters that I love have come from books or novels or comics even. But I think that there's a wide range of fantastic characters from way back in 1930s Universal monster movies all the way through to 1960s classic films like Lawrence of Arabia, and then all the way through to modern day movies. You still get fantastic characters today. Most recent films I've seen, Everything Everywhere All at Once, some brilliant character work in there. And I think all rounded you can have very fun, simple characters. For me, a great example of this is I'm a big fan of Mad Max Fury Road, and I think that the character of Max in that film is very simple, but at the core of him, there is a great character there, one to be explored. He is very conflicted, and there's a lot of emotions involved in that character. And I think that you can have very core base characters like that, which are relatable for some people, and you can have a lot of fun with. And I think it says a lot about characters sometimes when you get some, like a great example for me is Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox's character in the Transformers films. I know that they're both together only in the first two films, but for me, they do nothing to make you really like them that much. Megan Fox puts no effort into her character. She comes across very unlikable for most of it. And let's face it, the only reason she's in those movies is because she's incredibly attractive. And Shia LaBeouf, he is very over the top and very annoying. And he doesn't come across very likable either, which is why at the end of that movie, you genuinely don't care what's happening with their characters. You're more interested in seeing the big CGI monsters, robotic monsters that you've come to the cinema to see. In terms of characters, you really don't care about theirs at all. And I think that's also another key thing. I think as far as your main protagonist goes, I think likeable is always a good direction to go, unless your narrative of your movie is focused around a despicable character, which some movies obviously are about. So for me, I think something that I always like is having that likeable character there. One which I grew up loving, so there is definitely some biasness here for me, was Captain Jack Sparrow. Johnny Depp puts such a great performance into that role, and I think again that's also another key factor, is having a great actor behind him. But just seeing the layers of trauma that the character's gone through, there's history to him. There's history that's made him become the kind of bumbling man he is, yet there is a very intelligent side behind him, which you get to see at the most important of times throughout those movies. And I think that it works, it speaks wonders for the film itself. It elevates the plot. Could you imagine having a very generic lead pirate in that role, like a very standard kind of straight talking guy? It wouldn't work as well, and I don't think that the first Pirates film would have been near as memorable or likeable as it was. And I think without that character, I wonder if the pirate film would have done as well, the first one, and I wonder if that franchise would have continued. So there's so many elements, I think, and it all does come down to personal preference at the end of the day, I think, as well. You know, people look for different things in different characters. Some people like having that backstory and build up of emotions to get this character from point A to point B. Some people like having the simplistic ones, or some people don't even really care too much that they're there, the character, the protagonist is there, and it's all about what's happening around them. Some people like to relate to the main character as well, and you know, there are films out there which focus on all of these things, and which is the great thing about movies. There's so many, you can always find something that you love. But as I say, it comes down to personal preference, and I think at the end of the day, everyone's going to have their own favourite characters to talk about. So I've asked some of my friends, as I said earlier, to maybe help me out, and they're going to talk about some of their favourites, and they're going to talk about some honourable mentions as well, I think. So we're going to take a look at some of my good friends now who are going to talk about some of their favourite movie characters.
Hello everyone, like many of you out there, you probably have more than one favourite movie character. I know I do, I have so many, it's too many to mention. But for this short clip, I've decided to go with a more obscure favourite movie character that I think nobody will mention. We will see when James finally releases this video. I do have 3 honourable mentions because I have to give these ones an honourable mention. Many of you out there who know me will know that I am a huge, massive Star Wars fan. So I've got to give a mention to Han Solo, played by Harrison Ford. And what I like about Han Solo is he always seems to get himself out of trouble, and he's always there when needed as well to give a helping hand. And of course, he has that loyal friend and co-pilot with him, Chewbacca. My second honourable mention is John McClane from the Die Hard franchise. He's always in the wrong place at the right time. And of course, he has that catchy saying, yippee-ki-yay! You know the rest. And my last honourable mention is another Harrison Ford character, and it is of course Indiana Jones. Imagine teaching your profession and then in your spare time you get to travel all over the world going on this huge adventure after treasures. I mean, that sounds amazing. I know it's probably dangerous, but it sounds amazing. I've always been into that sort of thing. Ever since I was playing the Tomb Raider games, I love the National Treasure franchise. So my third honourable mention has to go to Indiana Jones, played by Harrison Ford again. But my favourite, more different movie character that I think no one will give a mention to, and I know he does have a lot of fans, is from a movie franchise way back in 1984. And of course it is Egon, played by the late great Harold Ramis, because Egon reminds me of myself in a way. Tall, very brainy, into ghosts. I'm just kidding, I'm not tall at all, but I am into ghosts. I'm certainly not brainy. But I've chosen Egon. From the very first time I saw him, I just fell in love with his character. He's my favourite Ghostbusters character out of the whole franchise, including the ghosts like Slimer and the Marshmallow Man, that sort of thing. I mean, imagine having a passion for the paranormal activity and then going out and starting your own business catching ghosts. He also is brainy and he does hold it together, and he's just such a wonderful character. And in Ghostbusters Afterlife, when they did bring him back, it did bring a little bit of a tear to my eye, and it was just an amazing experience watching Ghostbusters Afterlife. So my favourite, more obscure movie character is Egon from Ghostbusters. Thank you so much for your time. I do hope that's all right. I did try to be a little bit different, and I'm sure many YouTubers in this video will be mentioning my favourite movie characters, so I will be looking forward to hearing what they say about them. James, thank you so much for having me. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hello everyone, it's Jack, or Bring Your Own Popcorn here, whichever you prefer. And I've been asked by my good friend James, also known as Mr. Moviebug, to come on over here and talk about my favourite film character of all time. What a question you've got me to answer here, James. What a question. This obviously took a lot of thought. I've got a few honourable mentions that I'm quickly going to say. These are people that almost made it as my #1 spot but just missed out. #1 is Han Solo from Star Wars. I think Harrison Ford's performance is consistent throughout all the films that he's in. I love how witty and smug Han Solo is. He's my favourite Star Wars character. I just get a lot out of him. Also, another one is Rocky. I love the Rocky films, Rocky Balboa being my favourite, and also my favourite performance by Stallone in Rocky Balboa of Rocky. I love his character in that movie. I love seeing more vulnerable side to Rocky. He's obviously having problems with his son. He's in mourning of Adrian, and that speech he gives to his son is one of the best speeches in movie history. And my last honourable mention is Gene Wilder's Willy Wonka. I just love how Gene Wilder plays this character. There's just always something off about him. You can never really tell what. He's just unhinged. It's great. He just says the random stuff. You never know what's going to come out of his mouth next. It's just amazing. And obviously the speech he gives to Charlie and Joe at the end of the film, where he totally like blows up in their faces, is acting at his best in my opinion. But that being said, my favourite character of all time is Bustopher Jones, played by James Corden in the film Cat.
You serious?
I'm only kidding, James. That can get to. My favourite character is Mr. Miyagi in The Karate Kid. I love this character. He's just the character that has it all for me. He's funny. He's very knowledgeable. He's wise. You see a more vulnerable side to his character when he talks about the passing of his wife in childbirth. I just think Pat Morita plays this character so well. He's just the one character that I could think of that has it all, and he can kick ass. Whenever you see Mr. Miyagi kick ass in this film, it is just something to behold. He's like a 60, 70-year-old man beating up these 18-year-old kids who should be able to take him in a fight, but it's just awesome. I love Pat Morita's performance, and Mr. Miyagi is my favourite character of all time. So, James, thank you for letting me on your channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.
My favourite movie characters, I have one or two honourable mentions. First one is Daniel Craig as James Bond. I've always loved Daniel Craig as Bond. I've said he's the best James Bond. It will always be James Bond. And then we got No Time to Die, and No Time to Die really hit me on an emotional level. It made me love and appreciate the character even more. We get a complete character arc throughout 5 films from start to finish, and I just really glad really liked what they did at the end. It just made me love and appreciate the character so much. Second honourable mention is Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. I love the prequels, yeah. Revenge of the Sith is one of the best Star Wars fifth ever made. I love it. It's top 5 Star Wars. The best thing about the prequels is Ewan McGregor, and I've always wanted Ewan McGregor to return as Obi-Wan Kenobi. And we got the Kenobi series, and wow, he just nailed it. He gave us a masterpiece. Yeah, Kenobi was a masterpiece, and Ewan McGregor back in the role, I just had a massive smile on my face. I was, oh yes, so good. And my favourite movie character, it's no surprise, it's Batman. Batman is my favourite character ever. I believe in general I'm a superhero. I'm Batman. Friends, family, call me Batman. Batman obviously doesn't have a mum or dad. I don't have a mum or dad, and it's just a character I feel like I am in general. It's a character I can relate to, and yeah, I just believe I'm Batman, so it's just a character I can relate to, and yeah, I am Batman.
Hello everybody on YouTube Land, Jamie Power here, and I'm just doing a little segment for Movie Bug. He asked me if I could talk to you about my favourite movie characters. It's very difficult to pick one. For comedic reasons, I think Jim Carrey as Ace Ventura has always been the main character that makes me laugh. Pennywise the Clown is my favourite villain of all time and horror icon. And for recent one, it's got to be Charles Picescoot, I can't pronounce it properly, from the recent British film Brian and Charles, which I highly recommend you check out. It's my favourite film of this year so far. So yeah, trying to pick a favourite character is really difficult. Obviously, I love Baby Yoda. I love from The Mandalorian, and I love, Splinter from Ninja Turtles. But I guess if I had to pick one favourite character, let's go with Ace Ventura, because we all could do with a good laugh, especially this day and age. So yeah, Ace Ventura is probably my favourite character until I think of something different. So, but anyway, that is my favourite movie character, Ace Ventura, played by Jim Carrey. And yeah, he was on top form in those films. Anyway, thanks for having me on this video, James, and that's it. Thanks.
Some fantastic picks there, I've got to say. And again, all these characters that I mentioned, I'm also a huge fan of. And as you probably saw at the start of this particular video, there were a lot of great characters that I wanted to include and talk about, because after watching as many films as I have over the years, again, I haven't, there are some great characters here I'm not going to be able to talk about, because obviously I only have about 5 to 10 minutes here to talk on YouTube. But there are many characters I'm going to miss off talking about, is my point. A lot of great characters, and that's why I really, really do recommend to everyone just to comment down below. Let me know what some of your favourite movie characters are. But for me personally, if I was to take part in what I've asked these guys to do and sort of sum up to me who my favourite movie character is. And again, I want to come back to that personal preference thing. There is going to be some biasness here as well towards people's favourite movies. And that's exactly what's happening here with my pick as well. I grew up with Star Wars. Of course, people know how much I love this franchise. And for me, the character of Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader is just so fantastic in my mind, and it speaks wonders as to why George Lucas is still the Star Wars godfather. He wrote this character so perfectly, in my opinion. And I know people aren't a huge fan of the prequels because of the shoddy dialogue and the very, very stage-like acting. And I can fully understand why people maybe wouldn't appreciate Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker.
You turned her against me!
I personally actually like him in the role. But the thing with Anakin is you see this progression in the prequels of his downfall throughout each movie. The first film, he is turned away at first, and it is only through Qui-Gon's death that he is accepted into the Order. The second film, he goes through so much trauma with his mother's death and his confliction inside of him to choose either the Jedi Order or a romantic path with Padme. And in the third film, Revenge of the Sith, which I will always stick up for being an amazing film, you see this explosion as the Council, the Jedi Council, continue to play with his emotions. They invite him on the Order, but don't make him a master. And you see this character slowly break down and descend into evil. And, Palpatine is the definition of evil, as George Lucas has said, and you see Anakin become that, give into that. And then the original trilogy, we start off seeing Vader as Vader. And then throughout Empire, we can slowly see him chipped away. And then we get to Return, where we can see the redemption arc. And I think it is just such a fun story. For me, that is Anakin's plot. That's his overall story done. And it's great. In between, we can see these inserts now with things like Clone Wars, Rebels, the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. And I'm sure we're going to see more stuff. We had Rogue One and Andor's coming out, where we're going to be able to see little in-between moments with this character. But that 6-movie story arc there pastes a perfect character to me. Whether you agree with some of the writing behind it or, the scripts, which are questionable, and the acting, overall that is a great character there. And that's why I'd say he is my personal favourite. But anyway, let's hear from some other people now.
What is up everyone, Movie Worm here, and I'd just like to say a big thank to James for letting me be part of this video. Now, my favourite movie character of all time is gonna have to be Rocky Balboa from the Rocky franchise, and also the 2 Creed movies. Now, my reason for this is the fact that, apart from growing up with these movies and rewatching them constantly and loving all of them, even Part 5 really, which is considered the worst, I can still watch that. I just feel like Rocky is a very relatable character. He kind of came from nothing and made himself into someone. He was unfavoured. He's the underdog. And I feel like from a boxing point of view, he has an outlook on life of what many people may deal with. So, for example, in his movies, he has to overcome the likes of Clubber Lang, Ivan Drago, and his personal life, and we see it in his life's journey throughout these movies. You know, you feel like you've been on a life's journey with him, but I do feel like people can relate to that in non-boxing terms with the, you know, the obstacles that they have to face in life. Not quite in the form of Ivan Drago, but, you know, maybe, you know, you have problems in life that you've got to get past. And I just feel like, from a boxing point of view, Rocky can do that. And people can see that through a personal point of view as well, in a totally different mirror, if you like, if that makes sense. But also, I just think he's a really nice human being. He's good to his family, he's good to everyone around him, and he's not just my favourite movie character of all time, he's my favourite movie hero of all time. And Sylvester Stallone just made this character, putting pen on paper to him there, and turn him into one of the greatest movie characters of all time. So, yeah, I'm going to have to go with Rocky Balboa from the Rocky franchise. So, thank you so much, James, and looking forward to seeing everyone's entries. Thanks.
Take care. Paul here from Magpie Movies. Thanks, James, for allowing me to make a segment to go into your favourite movie characters video, I guess. Yeah, so throughout motion picture history, there have been so many famous and popular characters. There are so many to choose from. Narrowing down to one has been quite a challenge. So I'm going to go through some notable mentions. So first off, I've always been a big James Bond fan. So of course, James Bond is one of my all-time favourite characters, especially when it was being played by Timothy Dalton for Living Daylights and Licence to Kill. That's one. Another one of my favourite characters is Indiana Jones. Harrison Ford knocked it out of the park with 3 out of maybe 4 movies there. We'll still see what the 5th of that one's like. But yeah, always been a big fan of Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's my personal favourite. And also a little character called Gizmo from Gremlins and Gremlins 2 The New Batch. 2 films which was my personal favourites. I really, really adore the first one. And Gizmo's a little cutie, let's be honest. And finally, I'd like to mention the Wolverine. Yeah, brought to life by Hugh Jackman. I love that. Favourite X-Men character. But my all-time favourite movie character ever is Maximus. Of course it is, from Gladiator. The person who is the husband to a murdered wife, father to a murdered son, and someone who will have his revenge in this life or the next. Yeah, Gladiator is my all-time favourite movie, so of course I'm going to have Maximus as my all-time favourite movie character. The classic tale of revenge, and Russell Crowe brought him to life spectacularly in 2000 in Ridley Scott's Gladiator.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
So yep, there you go. That is my all-time favourite movie character, a Gladiator named Maximus.
Hey James, so yes, I want to tell you my favourite character of all time. Can you guess it? Yeah, it's this little fella, straight out of Empire Strikes Back. I was 9 years old when I first saw this little fellow on screen. The scenes in Dagobah when Luke crashed his X-Wing. And for a kid, I was just amazed at this little character and how important he was going to be to the story. His words of wisdom, his training of Luke. And it was just operated by a few men and the voice talents of Frank Oz. And it was either going to be a disaster or it was going to be magic. And we ended up having magic on screen. Now, I've got nothing against the CGI Yodas, but Empire Strikes Back puppet Yoda is always going to be my favourite Yoda of all time. The dialogue that he had was fantastic. I cannot teach him. One thing that still bugs us today is Obi-Wan's, was I any different when you taught me? Well, yes, because Yoda didn't teach Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon did, and everybody knows that. But back in the day, who knew what was going to happen? We didn't know how the story was going to unfold. But yes, this little fella gave me so many years of pleasure. And I had little play sets, little Dagobah play sets when I was growing up. And I just love everything about the character. He's down, he's down to earth. Well, he's down to Dagobah. But he's so powerful. He's mysterious. And it takes a little time for us to bring that out of him and to finally understand him and to see how important he is in the Star Wars universe.
Do or do not.
There is no try.
Hey James, thank you for having me on your channel. So, favourite film characters, this was really difficult. I was really struggling. I wanted to pick someone who no one else would pick and just try to seem like I actually know things about films. But I'm going to be a basic bitch today and pick someone that everyone knows. I'm going to go for Luke Skywalker from the original Star Wars trilogy. He's just a fantastic character. Mark Hamill is amazing in the role. I like his character's beliefs. He's a good person. He fights for what he believes in. He's committed to saving his father, which he does at the end. And he's full of hope. He makes mistakes. He's not great at what he does, and he sort of struggles with the dark side at moments. And I like that internal struggle. He's relatable as a character. He's not just some overpowered character from the get-go. That isn't a dig at anyone, but I like just how his character progresses through the trilogy.
I'll never turn to the dark side.
So, for honourable mentions, this is such a basic answer, but Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. in the MCU, he's fantastic. It's an unfair advantage. He's appeared in like 12 Marvel films. You've spent 11 years getting to know him, so he just has that natural advantage over characters who's appeared once in a film. But he's fantastic. You see him go through every kind of scenario you could possibly imagine. You see him obviously deal with his best friend betraying him, trying to murder him at the start, and that, and then by the end he's trying to deal with an alien from that space who time travels just to kill them. So you see him go through a lot. Spider-Man, favourite fictional character of all time, fantastic. He's had some really great portrayals in the films. And then, God, I feel so basic, I'm picking the most basic answers. And then Stitch, he's cute.
Hi.
Oh, how?
I'm trying to look at my thing to give me some inspiration. Hugh Jackman, he's fantastic as Wolverine, and in Prisoners as well. There's not a franchise film just to appease like a few people.
So a huge thank you to everyone who's taken part in this and submitted some videos. I really do appreciate it. People going out their time to help me out in making this video. So overall, I'm pleased I've been able to come on and talk about this. I don't even know why we do this, to be honest, sometimes YouTube. But I've wanted to come on and just kind of have a little go at digging into what I think makes a main character really good. Because as I say, we were doing some comparisons earlier on in the video that sometimes you get characters that don't elevate the movie, and I think without certain characters the movies wouldn't move as well. They wouldn't be as interesting in some cases. Of course, I've highlighted my favourite movie character, and we've had a lot of other great ones here and some really good honourable mentions. So anyway, as I also said earlier, I do recommend that people drop down in the comments below what maybe some of their favourite movie characters are, because I would love to hear them. I'd love to see some other ones, maybe some that haven't been mentioned, because of course we can only mention so many here on YouTube, because there are a lot of other fantastic movie characters out there that haven't been mentioned. But at the end of the day, I want to thank you all so much for watching. I want to thank everyone so much who took part in this video. It does mean a lot, and I want to thank everyone for coming by, and thank you so much for watching as always, guys, and I'll see you next time.